Hello all, Seriously is here with another base tour video. We're going to be looking at 2 bases today, well, technically 3, and we're going to be looking at some industrial bases in my own little tiny empire near the galactic core. As you can see, we're right there. Where is it? And we have a little system of bases here and planets, and you might recognize something like this as being my YouTube logo. Just taking a little screenshot of my planets that I've gathered. Today we're at Pally 4th. I've named my star systems here based upon old MMO characters of mine. And Pally 4th was a paladin on World of Warcraft. Sort of a play on words on the phrase Sally Forth, which means to head out on horseback, that troops used to use. And actually there's a comic strip also making a play on words with Sally Forth, a newspaper comic strip. And that's just called Sally Forth because it's a name, and that's funny. So here we are on a radioactive planet. And it exists pretty much exclusively to farm uranium. We've got a bunch of it there. But I've put up some biodomes and some shacks and a lot of extra flowers. Now, this is one of my first builds that I did on a pillar, like one of these, floating out here. My very first base in the game on the shotgun shack it asked you to build was also on a pillar. But it was right after I got the terrain manipulator and I could only build wooden walls and floors. And the way that I got up, because I didn't know about jetpacking up against walls, was to terrain manipulate myself a spiral staircase up around the outside. And of course that refilled, didn't quite work out, and it's long gone, but this was really the first base I built up on here, and I wanted to get, a industrial feel going on. Never really panned out. I don't like the view on the planet very much. It's really, radioactive. So I never really developed it. But, continuing with the little bit of a theme I noticed on my first tour, was to point out some faults in these bases that are earlier. I built too close to the portal with my main base, and I put way too many solar panels for what I was using at the second base. So, what's wrong with this base exactly, besides it not looking that great? Well, these buildings over here, you might notice they're a bit low. I intentionally dug a little bit down into the ground. When I built this, you could place these buildings without deforming the ground around them like they do now. But the inside would still have ground in it. Or you could wait for the terrain to regenerate if the ground disappeared. And that's what I did. And I waited for the terrain to regenerate, planted a bunch of flowers inside the building so I could harvest some flowers without being exposed to the elements. It's a bit wasteful. First of all, I don't think you can even recreate this anymore. Perhaps with the terrain manipulator restore tool you could do this. But it's just not very effective, and when the terrain regenerates around the door, you can't even get into the building. So if you don't have base terrain manipulate permission, you are locked out or in. And there's some more frost domes up on top. So how would you fix this then? Well, if you wanted to get a significant amount of gamma weed as well as frost in the same place, you could glitch build these gamma weed into the biodome. Well, let's go into camera mode quickly, and I'll show you that. So all of this space on the floor here, in fact even all of these glass walls, you can glitch plants to. You can either place pill lights, or you can just do a wire glitch, and you can get these plants. Can you just do a wire glitch? I think it might have to be one of the fancier glitches to get them placed in there. But when you harvest the same way you would harvest the frost, it'll grab all of those as well. So that's a much more efficient way to do that. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I don't know how many biodomes across this save. I don't need basically anything here. I don't need any of these plants at all. So I think what we might do while we're here is quickly see if we can hold everything that is entailed in creating this base. I'm not going to delete the entire base. I really do still want... Oh, look at that. That's great. I was able to pick it all up. Now let's get rid of these plants. That's going to be a bit tedious. A little bit quicker than harvesting them all, which is another reason I don't recommend doing farms this way. Oh, we don't want to delete that. Well, that is our walkway. Should probably be more careful about where I'm pointing or what distance I'm at. I probably won't be able to delete that landing pad because my ship is on it, but I'm not going to take the chance. Alright, so I am doing this primarily because I would like to save parts. I think I've mentioned once or twice or 10 times before I'm out of parts for this save. I can't build anything more, but that should have gotten me quite a few more parts back. I think I will leave that biodome. That looks nice, and a little bit of frost crystals never hurt anyone. I was already on the right tool, of course. Flatten, restore. Let's fix this horribleness, and we can do a bigger area at once. Look at that, barren as new. Alright, that base is done. We're fixed here. So what we're gathering here, as I said, is uranium. We're storing 8,000. I don't really need more than that. I primarily use it for fuel for my ship, and it doesn't go through that much, and it's easy enough to stop in and grab this and be pretty much full again. And I also have salt. Salt is the other thing I'm gathering at this base. I believe there's oxygen nearby, but I didn't go and grab it. I'm gathering oxygen at a lot of other bases. So getting power to this place and 2 minerals was enough for me. I mainly just needed the uranium. And now that, yeah, mistakes are fixed, we can move on to the next one. Or should I say 2. We are going to... Yep, that's the one. As you can see, I have 2 bases for the pi system. I know a lot of people have a lot of problems pronouncing that word. Just think of like the highest mountain peak. You know, the word high, it's pi. I needed to spell pi, and pi was taken already, obviously, because that's a great name for a character. So that's how I wrote it. People would always try to pronounce it as pigich. What are you doing, people? It's clearly the word pi. Anyway, we're going to planet pi. No, sorry, system pi. I have named the star systems after my characters, and usually the planets are just named something after their weather or something like that. Stormy. Yeah, here we are, planet Stormy in the pi system. That sounds like a great system to visit. And here we are storing oxygen, as I said. We are storing activated copper, and we are storing dioxide, and obviously, again, frost crystals planted in the ground, because why not? And if you notice over there, we have a trading post right beside it. So that's a pretty nice base. It's just nice and simple. Another harvesting base. Lots of towers of storage. Since I've built these bases, I've also learned how to not necessarily build towers like this and get them all glitched into each other so they take up one spot. You can have as many storage units basically as you can afford to build in a single place, and they're all connected to each other with like one simple wire connecting them to their source. I think it's a much more efficient way, although the towers do have an aesthetic, so it's something to consider. But that's this base. You can see there goes another resource into the distance. There's one off that way. So what's the problem here? Well, the problem is that there's two bases. I built this base basically right after I learned about how to extend your base limits, the range that you could build a base, and I didn't really fully understand how to do it yet. And oh, of course there's a ship on that one. I built another base about, well, there you see, it's 1,000 units away, and that's not very far. Why would I do that? If I had just built the base computer on this side of the trading post, I could have reached the space over here. And one of the reasons you don't want to build multiple bases like this is because, first of all, they're on the same planet, and other players will only be able to see one of them ever. So if other players come to visit this planet, you are only going to see, well, probably this base, because I believe it's the one that's most recently uploaded. It does have an extra biodome, an extra landing pad of its own, so when you teleport to this base, your ship isn't in the ground like it is at the other base, despite being built at a trading post. Oh, look at that walker for in the distance. That's neat, behind the blizzard. And we can see we're still building towers here. This was during my early building phases. And what do we have at this base? Radon and sodium. So we've got quite a few elements being gathered here. We have oxygen, activated copper, dioxide, radon, and sodium, all within basically 1600 U of each other. That's easily within the base limit extensions of a single base. I just didn't plan it outright. I didn't plan it outright at all, and I didn't plan it out correctly. I gotta stop using these things, or they have to fix them. It would be nice if these things would touch the ground. Oh well. Let's get out of the frost and maybe try using the build camera a bit. It can help in a storm. So you can see I have quite a few biodomes here as well. One of the reasons I've stopped needing to plant plants directly in the ground, ever since they added the harvest all feature, it's been much more efficient to use biodomes even on a frost planet to plant frost crystals inside a dome. You can just grab them much easier. I'd recommend it, to be honest. These ones I didn't want to put in a tower. I thought it looked pretty neat, you know, walking through a series of them on your way in and out. It doesn't get in the way of the NPCs. Even these ones here, the NPC still walks out of this door occasionally. So you might want to be careful about where you build them, though. I did not take a lot of concern on this base. As you can see, the wires and the pipes are just willy-nilly, not concealed very much at all. In fact, the placement was a little bit tricky because if they get too close to another, they will interfere with one another, and neither of your storage silos will fill up. So the way to fix this base, I'm hopeful, if it's possible, is to delete both bases and build again in the middle. Sometimes you aren't going to be able to build again in the middle. Sometimes it's going to still remember the base claims of your previous bases. If that's the case, I'm going to find another site on this planet and start all over again and try to gather all 5 resources at one base, because that's really efficient. At the very minimum, I'd like to gather activated copper and radon here. I have sodium, I believe, at other sources, but that would be great too. Oxygen's always nice to pick up at everywhere you go, but you don't need it because you can get it on pretty much every planet. And if you've got it at 1 or 2 bases that you visit a lot, you don't need to put it on a lot. Dioxide, that's a good one. Yeah, I definitely need this planet for the dioxide. Alright, dioxide, activated copper, and radon are my goals for one base in the future. So that's how I'm going to fix that. Delete both of these things and start over. that's about it for these two tours. Not too sure where we're going to go next. I think I will do a very quick freighter base tour for you. Not a very big freighter design, not elaborate like a lot of people's, and it's not really decorated all that yet. Again, I ran out of pieces. Can't say it often enough. Let us have unlimited pieces. I don't know how to, I'm not a coder, I can't fix it for you, just I want it. Yeah, so we'll visit the freighter next time. We might visit several of my freighters just to show you the slight differences between them. But I pretty much use the same layout each time. And I'll show you a neat technique you can use to view your freighter and to build it. It's sort of fun. So until next time, have a good time, everybody.